Is there tissue anywhere? We used to have a little box of tissue. Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Victor, if you set it on the table there, that way if people need it, they can see it coming in. Thank you. Does anybody have a phone where they can check the time against this clock? Oh, here.
7:04.
Okay. So I think I'm gonna turn record on.
I did it.
So we are recording. Yeah. I don't see the little bars that you were talking about.
Oh, I don't see them either.
Not necessary. No. Hey, Courtney.
The video
wave
frozen. I can hear you, but the video's frozen.
I can't hear you, but you can hear me.
It came up next to her, and it does say here. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh well.
And Courtney, I'm going to talk to you again because I can see you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Nod, because you're on mute. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to be talking today. I was thinking about what did I want to add to this practice last week of just abiding in awareness. Remember, I said before we really move towards this idea of loving ourselves, which is big work. You know, we already know, don't we, the habits of mind to judge, to evaluate, and to seek the pleasant and not seek and not want the unpleasant, right? We've already agreed to that this is the nature of all of our brain-stemmed minds, right? And that it's not broken. It keeps us from the tiger. It gets us out of the fire, right, in life. It helps us survive. All of our ancestors, we know, by virtue of their beautiful brain stem, you are here today, right? So we want to be appreciative and grateful for that reality. And then neither do we want to be bound or caught or tethered or gripped by that continual seeking of the thing we like and want and the not seeking of the thing we don't like and we don't want. Can we all agree? We're going to practice today noticing what happens when we're in the wanting. And we're going to see if we can notice for ourselves what it feels like when we're not in the wanting or not wanting, but we're actually resting in things coming and going. And so last week, you noticed we practiced, didn't we? Just letting body sensations arise and pass. And then we went to sounds. Anybody remember just noticing the nature of sound and its coming and going as well? And then we turned to thoughts themselves. This is where we're going to put a little extra emphasis today because it's a little sticky territory. These thoughts of ours, these self-making, pleasure-seeking, wanting what I want to validate me and my aliveness and my becoming and my goodness and my right in every moment. And that the pursuit that the Buddha himself called craving is actually the cause of suffering. How about that for an idea? That the actual pursuit, giving me this sense of me, giving me this sense of validation, of appreciation, of it is actually the cause of suffering. And the resting, then the release, the relinquishment, these are the words that are used, the renunciation of all of that craving, of all of that seeking, of all of that wanting, is the path to true happiness and freedom. And then all those things, you think, if I could only get that, then, right? Don't we all? If I could only get that, if I could only get the kids' stuff out of the garage, we're just talking about that. If I could only get a clean house, if I could only get my stepfather, my father-in-law's stuff out of my foyer, if I could only get the tools that my husband uses every day out of the foyer that has become a second garage, if I could only, right, then, don't we all have this story? So I want you to think about that before we begin. What's your storyline? What's the if only story you carry? If only people would listen to me. If only they'd acknowledge my fabulous advice. Be said less.
My fabulous energy.
Yes, if they only saw the love and goodness that I am. But can we see where the suffering is? Now we've set demand for conditions. You have to. I was talking with someone yesterday, and she said, if my mother would just admit that I am right, then I wouldn't suffer. And what did I say? What are we going to do? How are you going to do this? Because that's likely never to happen for any number of reasons, having to do with the fact that we're now in a power struggle with who's valid, who's right, who's good enough, right? And that struggle will only end in one way, and it will never be by the hand of the other. It will never be by the hand of the other that you will be free. It will be by the commitment that you bring to your own heart mind, isn't it? That you can let go of the rope, that you cannot go, but you have to in order for me to be valued, in order for me to be worthy enough, in order for me to be good enough. You have to give me my perception of myself. It's like that. What were those cameras? Polaroid Instamatics?
Yeah.
Right? So like, bang, I want you to take the picture of the perfect me, and then I want you to hand it to me and go, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You are amazing. You're right. Don't we want this? And what we don't do is willingly come home, rest in our own experience, acknowledging that there is no permanent, fixed, one, anything. And we call that renunciation. And the minute I say the word, everybody goes, oh, I don't like it. But the truth is, and the Buddha said it himself, I will read it to you because, again, I love some of the language for its simplicity. These were the first words that the Buddha spoke after reaching enlightenment, sitting under the Bodhi tree. This is the story. And here he says, "Oh, house builder." House builder. Who's building the house? Every one of us is building the house of self. Oh, house builder, you have been seen. You will build no house again. Look at the simplicity of that. These are the first words spoken after enlightenment. Oh, house builder, you have been seen. What is this? Recognition. Isn't it? Seeing clearly. This is the whole of the mindfulness path. You will build no house again, and so be free.
Can you explain that? I don't know why you're saying it's so simple, but
Yeah. Oh, house builder. Oh, self maker. Oh, thinker of you and all things that you keep bringing you to. As long as you keep bringing the self-making, craving, attaching to any part, the pleasure-seeking part, the being acknowledged part, as long as you are building the house of self, you will suffer. And in seeing the way to that, In recognition, we will have compassion. This is the naturally arising compassion I was talking about. We will have compassion for the truth of the suffering in this, not only in ourselves, but in all others. And so then put it down and be free. We get the idea? We're going to see if we can find our way in the practice, first by noticing the grip, the tanha, it's called, we've talked about it before, the grip of craving, the thing that keeps seeking. It's translated sometimes tanha as thirst, unquenchable thirst. Can you get that feeling? Right? Where I just need something. I just need something. And the thirst of this self-making is the cause of our suffering. The recognition, though, the acknowledgement, the abiding, is the path to freedom. And then true joy and happiness, where I don't need it to be any other way, or I don't need me to be any other way, which is why I've resisted going on into loving ourselves, right? I've resisted, you notice the second week, I'm like, oh, it's dangerous territory, because what are we going to do? We're going to self-make that. It doesn't mean we don't hold goodness. It doesn't mean we can't make contact with it. It doesn't mean we're not going to turn towards it, but I want us to do that with a little bit of lightness, with a little bit of abiding, with a little bit of watching everything and its coming and going, instead of going, now goodness, now I got to be that. It's easy to do. This is a little bit of our Judeo-Christian habit, is to go, well, now I have to keep trying for that, and watch how I fail, watch how I can't keep it, and then judge, devalue, hate, self-loathe, bring ill will to the very reality that there is these arising and passing qualities. We're not going to take, right now, claim of anything. Greg and Lisa are going to be talking about the actual turning towards one's goodness and how we do that. And what is the goodness in us that is all abiding? So we get the idea. Why don't we practice with it a little bit? Let me see if there's any other note about this before we start, just so you have a sense. Oh, I'll read another quote. This, the Buddha was talking about setting the Dharma wheel in motion. What sets the Dharma wheel in motion? It was one of his first teachings, and he says this. And this, O practitioner, is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, the fading and cessation of renunciation, the fading, and then colon, renunciation, relinquishment, and letting go of craving. And letting go of craving. Not craving for the thing, but the craving for, I want it this way. And if I could only get this, remember I said, if only, the if only mind, if only I could have that wife who just was praising, if only I could have that child who loved me, if only, right, then out of that, then I could be free or happy. And these teachings say absolutely not, because no matter how much the partner loves you, no matter how much the child loves you, no matter what's going to happen, it comes and is and changes and goes. And then we suffer in that, right? We all get this idea. We suffer. I've got to have it like this. And we all spend time, don't we all? And I do it, and I watch myself do it. Go, love like this. I should have love like this. Love that reflects the goodness of me. And then I don't turn where I can turn, which is how to be with me, to be really fully present, is where love can abide. The presence of one's own being. That's the beginning of all loving, right? Where you cannot be present, love cannot be alive, can it? As we look into the past for some ideas about ourselves, or we look into the future about how we're going to preserve the self, the truth is, the other thing, and then we'll start, the other quote that I like is, how does he say it? The past is the past, the present, and the future is the future. None of them abiding. The past is the past. Don't waste time there. The present is the present. Don't grab on to that either because you can't keep it. And the future is the future. No happiness can abide there. It's the grabbing. Once again, the craving. The I've got to keep it. And we're going to see if we can feel into this in the practice. So get ready to practice. We're going to do a little inquiry practice. This is insight-oriented practice. In insight-oriented practice, we begin always in the same way, which is just resting in awareness or an object. And actually, different people have different preferences, and they're all fine. So the truth is, I find the body, find the weight of the breath, rest the attention there for a little bit. And then what happens for most people is then they just rest in the awareness of the breath. And I'll give some instructions. We'll see how it works. And then we'll go from there. Finding that relaxed and supported posture and taking a moment to feel your way. And what happens right away when we're talking about releasing or letting go is we grip. Because that egoic mind, that self-making mind believes if I don't have stuff, I can't be okay. And so we're really not setting that as the aspiration for this practice. We're setting the aspiration for just seeing the nature of craving, of self-making mind, of the wanting mind and its effects on the mind and body. And so very gently just beginning to remember. Remember the motivation for your practice. And no matter who you are, no matter what traditions you've come from, you have the same aspirations that I do, which is to end suffering and contribute to the good, to the wholesome, to the end of suffering. And you put that in the words you have. But ignite that good heart. And if you can, we smile a little at the awareness of that goodness. The wish for the end of suffering. And for happiness, ease, well-being, joy. Abiding life as it is, this precious moment. And may this practice be a benefit to all beings, without exception. And so taking a big in-breath, feeling the beauty of it, the preciousness of it, let it go. Settling into one's self. This body like this. And see if we can just allow the body to be as the body is. Just beginning to turn one's attention towards the body. Body like this. And with the gentle breath, see if you can just gently scan the body. This is like a little mini body scan. Noticing sensations. And then we notice without too much effort the sensations of the in-breath and the sensations of the out-breath. And see if we can't just enjoy them. Just ride the waves of the breath without this idea of looking for something special, something else, a certain kind of breath, a certain kind of way. And you notice fairly quickly that the mind in its movements drops in for maybe a quarter of a breath and takes off for a thought, a self-referencing, self-making thought about the past, about thoughts, about what you should be doing, about whether you're good at it or not. This is the craving nature of mind. We're just noticing it. No judgment, no harshness. You can smile at the monkey mind. And then without demand, see if you can't notice the mind in its wandering and simply release and return. Just coming back to the sense of breath. And smile again at the noticing. We're not going to stay engaged in the thoughts just yet. We're just going to notice the mind moving away from the body and body experience, away from the breath and the breath sensations, off into thoughts about. And we're simply going to come back to the body and breath. It doesn't matter where the mind goes. This is not the problem. We don't have to label or note at this point. We're not stable enough yet for clearly seeing thoughts as thoughts, which is why we come back to the body just like this. And with each out breath, then, we let go of ideas and thoughts about how even the body should be. Seeing if you can notice that there is no one body, that this body is a continually changing form of sensation and experience. A light touch in, and then a letting go. Breath by breath and moment by moment. And then refining the attention from the breath, the body, to the breath sense. Noticing that mind sense that can let things be exactly as they are. A long breath or a short one. A pleasant breath or an unpleasant one. See if you can notice the quality of mind that can simply abide, knowing long is long and short is short. That can then notice pleasant as pleasant and unpleasant as unpleasant. And see if in the noticing itself we can simply abide rather than gripping the pleasant, rejecting the unpleasant. This is the craving nature. See if we can't just rest in the breath as it is. This is the training. Touching into the out breath and the in breath. Making contact with the breath experience. Now, the preferencing, craving mind is already at work. It's often hard to sense. Let's see if we can notice how, even in the in breath and the out breath, there is the one evaluating, going, oh, good one. That was a nice release. It was a little short on the in breath. Feel a little gripped. I don't like that. Not on the breath at all. I'm completely failed. Just noticing this preferencing nature of mind. The one who's evaluating every breath, every moment as good or bad. And see if you can capture that light note of judgment. Sometimes it feels like liking or not liking. Maybe you could catch it as pleasant or unpleasant. Just right here with this one breath. Looking for a certain kind of breath, a certain kind of attention, the wish for no thoughts or pleasant thoughts. See if you can notice where the wanting is, right here in just awareness of the breath. And as we talk about wanting or the craving nature of mind, you may notice a little gentle contraction or constriction, like just in the recognizing the wanting nature, the tanha, the continual thirst for a certain kind of experience. We can actually feed that or grow that in a way that can become slightly distressing or reactive. So then noticing not only the wanting, but the not wanting. I don't want it like this. I just want to relax. I want the easy breath. I want the mind to be restful without thinking. This is not the practice. The wanting, not wanting nature is in fact where the suffering is. Seeing if we can simply abide, noticing the breath just as it is, long or short. smooth or rough. Now, the unconditional goodness in us can abide the wanting and the not wanting, recognizing its nature, and out of the goodness, simply let it be. Not being carried away by the wanting or the not wanting, just noticing. This is the beginning of developing an unconditionally friendly relationship with the mind and body. So we might notice in breath liking, out breath a little tense, maybe not liking. The one who is liking and not liking already wants something special. It wants the breath a certain way, it wants body sensations a certain way. It even demands that the mind be a certain way. This is being caught in the self-making thoughts, buying into the opinions, the judgments, and see if in the recognition, once again, we can simply release and allow. Abiding and noticing. Nothing to get rid of, nothing to change. No certain way to be. See if you can notice what it feels like when we're simply abiding the breath without wanting or not wanting. Breath like this. Without opinion, without preference. The body like this, the breath like this, just as it is, seeing if we can open now to include thoughts. Noticing the craving, wanting, and not wanting nature of thoughts without being carried away by them. Thoughts about the breath. Thoughts about the body. Thoughts about thoughts. I shouldn't be having the thought. This is a bad thought. Why do I keep thinking? All craving and not craving. What if we just rested in awareness, letting thoughts come and go and not mistaking it for self? Conditioned phenomenon rolling along, coming and going breath by breath. We're not trying to get rid of thoughts, sensations, or experience. We're not trying to claim it or cling to it at all. Just letting it come and go as we abide in awareness. Then there's nothing not to think. Doesn't matter. Can we recognize a thought as a thought? And rather than be carried away, simply release and come back to the direct experience of the present moment? Body like this, breath like this, thoughts like this. We rest in the knowing, the noticing. And that unconditional friendliness. That's the beginning of the goodness. It can look like acceptance, allowing, being with. without judgment, without criticism, without wanting and not wanting. See if you can get a physical felt sense of how it is to actually let things, all things that we typically name as us, just come and go. What is your experience right now? Feel into the quality of the body. Noticing the characteristics of the breath. And the open space of mind and heart that abides all things coming and going. Non-clinging to anything as I. And then, so that we might get a sense of the difference between the release, the relinquishment, the renunciation, and the clinging, I'd like you to call to mind a thing you really want. Something you really want. Maybe even something you really don't want. But I'd like you to establish that in the mind as a vivid image. And see if you can do your best to build up the opinions that you have about it. I'm deserving of this. If I could only have it this way, it would be better. I could be happy as long as it stays this way, or gets worse, it'll be horrible. Just see if you can't draw on the storyline. Once I get to Kauai, I can relax, believe thought. And see if you can't capture some elements of the story, not just the thought. When I don't have anything to do all day, I'll be happier, more relaxed. And as you're cultivating, remembering, and recognizing these thoughts and the storyline, I want you to drop back into the body every couple thoughts and see how it feels in there. Seeing what you notice about the quality of the body and the breath as you hold these wanting or not wanting thoughts. See which thoughts you take to be truths. It is true. If I lived in Kauai, my life would be better. I'd be happier, more relaxed. I'd have more time with my husband. But it's not just the thoughts themselves, it's our craving and clinging to them. See if as we buy in to that storyline, we can drop back into the body and see the grip, the tanha, the activated thirst and craving that is there. And the squeeze. If I could only get it this way. Then I could be happy. Then I could be relaxed. Then I could have ease. Dropping into the area of the chest, the diaphragm, and the belly. Feeling that wanting, not wanting nature. It has real effects on the body. And rather than making this something about the self, let's see if we can't simply abide experience here as well. Seeing if you can't just notice tight is tight. Achy is achy, gripped is gripped. Letting it come and be, letting it pass and go. Just abiding in the body for a moment, letting go of the thoughts and the storyline. Just see if we can't let sensation be sensation once again. Body like this, however it is. No resistance, no struggle, no clinging. Sensations coming and going. Inviting once again that unconditional friendliness with whatever is arising and passing. We can simply recognize, name if it's helpful, and come back to the direct experience. Watching it come and go. Nothing to change, nothing to do. And then noticing the breath as the breath, short or long, smooth or rough, not having to cling or get rid of anything. Noticing with friendliness the breath like this. Not me, not mine, not I. And in this same way, we can let the thoughts simply be thoughts, knowing a thought is a thought. Thoughts about the self, thoughts about the breath, thoughts about the day. No thought is you. And that essential goodness in us is the one who can simply let it come and go as it is, with that unconditional friendliness. And then for the last few moments, let's see if we can't simply rest back in awareness which belongs to no one. Letting the sea of objects come and go. Smiling at them all. Knowing the cause of suffering and its end. We smile. Body like this. Coming and going. Liking and not liking, wanting and not wanting. Breath like this. Noticing the hooks of preference, of opinion, of craving. And the freedom in the noticing. Thoughts like this. Abiding it all. With that unconditional friendliness. No struggle, no resistance. No problem. Just like this. This is the path to true happiness and freedom. So I asked you last week to do a little inquiry. You remember about this idea of the I am this. Remember I said, pay attention through the week of where you are noticing this I am this. And in addition, where we not only do the I am, we do the I should. I should be like this, right? I should be this way. I should be. And did anybody drop in on that experience? What'd you notice about that? Because we're going to notice it here too, aren't we? Anybody notice what happened with the I am something?
A lot of should.
A lot of shoulds come right with it. Shitting on ourselves, they say. Right? I am this, and then we freeze it, we demand it, we go, it has to be always, and then we set conditions, don't we, every moment for what that's supposed to be like. We call those demands, expectations, hopes, and fears. Cost us, don't they? The whole gotta be like this, and now I gotta be like that, and now it, right? And anybody notice how right from that, it wasn't too long before you went right out there going, and now this has got to be like that so I can be like this, so that I can be kind. You better just stop being a knucklehead. Right? We then start the demand not only here, but we bring it into the world of going, so this better get conditioned just right so that I can be the goodness that I actually am, the kindness that I am, the care or compassion or love, whatever it is that we demand of ourselves. And by the way, I've happened to notice that nothing comes from the demand. Anybody catch that? Whatever else is true, you can't demand love. You can't demand compassion. You can't demand kindness. It doesn't work very well. And the I am is a part of that demand. The craving. I am like this, so you need to be like that. And the storyline goes together. Did anybody notice? So then
I've noticed that I can feel that I'm locked into the way I was in the past with people. And so then it becomes, I want you to notice that I have changed. Come on, how can I show you that I'm different now?
So I am different. And then the demand for, and you better notice that I'm different because I want you to be different with me that's the term. I want to be different because I actually want you to be different with me. Right? I want you to see something in me, how mindful I am, how kind I am, how conscious, how aware, how present I am. Why?
Because it will be better for you.
It'll be so much better for you.
I know it.
See, if you could just get it, how really being present is everything, like I am, then you would want to do it too.
You join the club.
Join the club. And then you'd be kinder, you'd be nicer, you'd recognize my inherent goodness because I happen to be present, you happen not to be. Right? This is the storyline, isn't it? And the cause of suffering, says the Buddha himself. And the cause of suffering is the house building. And the very seeing of it is the path to freedom. Not to get rid of it, not to just make it go away, not be some other way, not first. The very first work is the mindful work of recognizing. Did anybody catch what happened when we went into the grippy wanting? It hurts, literally. Can you feel it? It's like, I don't like this. I don't want this. Could somebody get in there and get the room back? Right? It's that painful. The tanha, the thirst, the inherent unpleasant nature of the gripping, wanting self. Did anybody find their way back? It's much harder. Once we're locked, we get into not wanting. And once we're in not wanting, we're trapped. Isn't it? Anybody notice? Like, no, now I'm just spending all my time going, wait, I want that other thing. I'm not liking this thing and I want it back. And now the wanting, not wanting struggle, we're in it and we can't free ourselves. It's very difficult. You have to really let it all go and kind of begin again, don't you? This is the work of our mindfulness. We have to go, okay, wait, I'm just caught in the now not wanting, and it's as energetic, as powerful, as fierce as the wanting, right? We often don't recognize not wanting, though. We just go, it should not be this way. It just shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be. It is wrong, right? We give it attributions like it's wrong, it's bad, it's, what else do we do? Shouldn't be, selfish, it's unfair. What other hooks do we have for the not wanting?
I notice when I do that, like I catch it, and then I notice I leave it, I should be better. So I don't leave it there for very long. It immediately comes back and goes, okay, here's my work. I should be better at this. I should have this mastered by now. I should be, right? So it's
Yeah, we have a continual wanting, not wanting, and the teaching says, notice them. This is the way to freedom, because once you can see it, you might just actually choose to put it down. This is the idea of renunciation and release. I might go, I can't get free this way. I can't get free from the not wanting or the not wanting. There is no freedom. It's called the cycle of samsara. Just a spin. I want it, no, I don't want it. No, I don't want that. I don't want the feelings like that. I don't want you to be like this. I want you to be some other way. I want you to recognize who I really am so that you can treat me better. You can treat me like I want to be treated. Just like that client who said, if my mother could just admit that she was not always right. She had given up the idea that she would ever say she was wrong. She thought she was compromising something. She thought she was giving up some of the wanting. If she could just say, and I'm like, but no freedom. As long as we need somebody else to be different. Or what? The other demand that we have to be different, then first we can acknowledge ourselves to be. This is the path to freedom and true happiness. So what keeps happening? Because we're all nodding.
We'll have the old record, old story.
We buy in, don't we? We get caught in. And then I have people say all day, and I do it myself, which is, no, but it should really be like this. No. All those other things are conditions that actually, you should be nice to me. That is right. And I should be acknowledged, respected, and for the goodness that I am. That's also true. And so because you're not doing it, that's my problem. That's not your problem. There is no other that is your problem. I am not saying they are skillful. I will not accuse any of us of this. So what's happening? Since no one else is your problem, it's the lens of craving that climbs in. Isn't it? Consistently, the lens of craving, the grip of craving. They say once we see the craving, we are ultimately free, because it's like holding a hot coal is how it's described. Like holding a hot coal and just letting it burn you, right? And the only thing you have to do is put it down.
I have this experience this weekend. It's a little confusing still. We were in Venice Beach this weekend. It was fantastic. And as soon as I got into the Airbnb, I see this magazine and it says Deus, which is God in Portuguese. I'm like, whoa. And then I start tripping, and then I'm like, I need to go to this place, and this place is calling me. And then the first day that we were there, I Googled it, and it sent me to a wrong place that was actually under construction, and I was frustrated. God doesn't want to see me, that kind of thing. And then eventually on Easter Sunday, we found the right place. So we get there, and I'm wearing the shirt and everything. So I'm having this blissful experience at this Deus place, and there's a coffee place there too. So all is well, and I'm all blissful. my husband is in front of me asking for coffee and this and that, and I don't know what I want because I am blissful. So I'm like, this tea, Easter eggs, and then the girl is like, hey, what do you want?
Let's get the wanting going.
Do you know what you want? Are you guys together? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm trippy. She got so upset and she started like bursting my bubble because I could feel her energy. And then I'm like, I'm not gonna let her burst my bubble. And I'm like, do you sell this? And I wasn't doing it on purpose. I could
Right.
in the past, but I wasn't. So I'm like trying the chocolate. I'm like, I think I'm hungry. And then I have 3 or 4. I'm like, do you sell this? She didn't even hear it. And she's like, you can pour this and that, blah, 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 because I had all the things that I wanted. And then I felt so hurt that I immediately looked like, okay, thank you. And I could feel my voice. And then at the same time, I'm like, you're not a happy person. You're and then I looked behind me, there were like 4 people waiting, but I was still like, they can wait. Yeah, I'm a client too. And my dialogue, and I'm out of my bliss. And I could feel it.
Mhm.
But then I'm like, you know what? And I did. I went to the table and got myself some water. And then this dog comes running with a ball. And I'm like, oh, Baba. And then I was in Mama Man again. I'm like, thank you. It was fantastic. But it's so confusing for me when I am in this blissful place and somebody comes at me and knocks me out of bliss.
Is it possible that you could be knocked out of your bliss by anyone else? No.
But we are.
Because I wanted it to be like this.
I want everybody to be blissful.
I want you to be patient. I want you to let me have the space I want or need. I want you to, recognize my bliss, support me in the bliss moment. Right? And then we go see the world is off and wrong because they're in a hurry.
They don't want to just float around.
They don't want to.
They work in God's store.
They should be the most
They
blissful.
should be
Well, that's
blissful.
even worse.
Keep the tea.
They should be. Courtney's laughing. Thank you. It's good to acknowledge. Like, we're laughing at what? The truth, aren't we? That we know this mind. We know this mind that goes, you're getting in the way of my bliss. As if somebody else could. You are the cause of my discontent. And then we also believe without you, I could have it all the time. And so actually, I get to get rid of you. Is a believed thought, isn't it? And then every war ever fought has begun. I can get rid of you since you are the cause of my distress. And we surrender everything. You. If only that, the other problem, only that stop sign, if only the partner, if only some other way, then we are a prisoner. The conditions that are coming before dogs coming, dogs going, right, the craving. We can change us. I don't want to say you can change yourself. I think that's a little empowering. I'm not sure about that because sometimes that can be not safe.
I'm thinking. Like, yeah, walking away, or I mean,
Can you?
This is a big, seems like a big problem. It's a big complex solution. Like this. I think meditation teaches you that can teach you. Okay, all this, you have this thoughts that go and go and it's hard to stop, but then the way to stop it is just breathe. You know. The solution is actually pretty simple and accessible. Just breathe.
I guess what I'm saying is once you are at a place where you're at least recognizing
What are you recognizing? Start there.
well, I'm recognizing that I'm in an abusive situation.
So now you've already given power
To the
to
other.
that thing out
Yeah.
there. You just did it. I'm in a thing. But what did I say? There is no thing. There's only the coming and going of everything. So what am I? You said this.
Don't you?
I felt this. I want you to go away.
But
You
what
stay.
if you do need to go away?
I didn't say what you should do. We didn't get that far.
So we're just recognizing it
Recognizing.
right now.
Well,
Recognizing.
Margie started with it. She goes, if I could just get everybody else to see what I want them to see, it would be okay. You're doing, aren't you? I want you to see that you're abusive.
No, I don't. At this point, I don't care what the other person sees.
That's better.
And what they I don't care how they deal with it.
Yeah.
I feel that I recognize what I've allowed, and I have to step away.
It might be true.
Okay.
That might be true.
But it's the recognizing first,
What do we recognize first?
and then the breath.
Not the other. What do you recognize?
Right.
My
Once
reaction,
Right.
my wanting or not wanting, my preference for something. It's not for me to say if it's right. I just
Right,
want you
right,
to
right.
notice it. And then what results from the noticing, I happen to notice, can be somewhat skillful. Whatever you choose, then, we don't determine because nobody's there. Nobody's right except us, knowing our circumstance, to go, then how can I respond to the reality of this? But we have to be careful because we tend to tag others and self. And that formalizes because there is no person that is always abusive.
Right.
It's not true.
Right.
There is no person that's always rushing. It's not true either. There is not us always in bliss. Nope, not that either. It is not like every dog is fun. Nope. No, sometimes they're not. They're just not fun. They're doing whatever they're doing. Wrecking the rug. That's right. So, but can we recognize what is in the arising? And often the only way we can first come to it is by what's happening in this body just right here. This breath that I'm now holding. This idea that you shouldn't be doing that. And then this reaction called my distress, my upset, my anger, my reactivity, which is very different than saying, oh, here's a situation where what could be most skillful here would be not to join in, not to participate, not to get hooked in the, it's got to be like this or it's got to be like that. Now and this is a essential goodness that we're bringing to the table for everyone. Actually, it's not just for our benefit, it's for the benefit of the other as well. And remember, we've already said last time, nobody decides where you stand in relationship to that. That's for you to go, wait a minute, I've got to get this far back so that I can, with recognition that that is the way it is, also be okay. Without judgments and condemnation in any direction. Not I should just be able to handle it. This is not helpful. Or you should just be different. Not helpful either. And so can we see where we get hooked? Can we see the storyline that's going? It just shouldn't be like this. The not wanting nature of mind. It should be like this. You should be acknowledging, kind, and we do it to ourselves first. And that's why this practice is it isn't about what do I do with the other first. It's about what do I do with the reality and recognition I have So Robin's exactly right. Recognition is the key. And without it, there can be no insight. There can be no wisdom, no understanding. And without that, there can be no compassion. See, if you don't know the nature of aggression for yourself, how could you open to the reality of the others? It actually means you've rejected yours. And so we're consequently rejecting the others, right? That means you've gone, no, not me, that's you.
Meaning that you don't recognize you have those things.
You are not, because in unconditional friendliness of ours, guess what we see? It's nature. It comes like this, it is like this, it holds like this, and it goes like that. And then we go, there you are too. Oh, interesting, similar. You got triggered. You had a wanting or a not wanting. You grabbed onto it. You are in suffering just like we all know you are. And the truth is that's not all you are either, is your reactivity. No one is. No one is just their reactivity. It's not true. It's not true. Which is why I always laugh when somebody says, well, you saw it now. Shouldn't you just be different?
The only thing I seem to know this is the situation. I want you to get right. Yes. Just getting worse or
Caught.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that noble truth about it's still like it? I don't know. That's an easy one for me to always remember about back off.
Yep.
Back to your center.
Yep.
Until I know what's going
Yep.
on. And maybe days, maybe weeks, months. But I do know over
Lifetimes.
time
Yeah.
it works.
Yes.
Because with time, when you step out of your emotions,
Yes.
eventually you can
Yes. So the 3 R's that I offered yesterday in the blog, which was recognize, release, and return, is the beauty of the practice. And that's what still like a log means. It doesn't mean do nothing. It means do nothing in the way of speaking, do nothing in the way of taking an action yet until you can see clearly. And the clarity comes from recognizing, releasing from the belief story, dropping back into the body, abiding, staying with oneself. That was the name of it, staying with oneself in the experience. Why? Because we don't like unpleasant. We want it to be pleasant, and we want it to be pleasant from out there.
Okay, so what if there are dire circumstances that are coming and you are not getting?
It usually means there is something blinding us. It's called an obscuration. We have a believed thought that actually is still an impediment and in the way, and we acknowledge with kindness the reality of that, which is I can not see the way yet, which means I'm hooked into some limited believed thought about it, that it should be this way, or it should have happened by now, or right, if I'm really doing it right, I should have the job, right? These believed thoughts have us hooked. And what do? We stay still present in calm abiding. Can I just stay? Because I notice that whenever there's a hook, there'll be a tightness. There'll be a grip here. You notice the difference. When we're not in the wanting or the not wanting, we're not caught in samsara. There is just the abiding. And I look for that place and try to rest there as often as I can as the path to seeing what needs to be seen, including abiding distress. But can I stay with myself? Can I notice the feeling of it should be this other way? I want it to be, this is what we just did. Can I stay with? And we all have time frames, don't we? Because life operates often with rent due, or you have to do by Wednesday, and then we go, well, this is not working right because I don't know yet. And now it's Wednesday and I have to know something. Well, it's best to know what you yet don't know, right? My son's doing that job. I've told you, he's right in the middle of this. Well, I've got to be going along with this. I'm supposed to know. I'm like, but actually you don't know. Can you just accept not knowing? Well, but they want an answer. The answer is I don't know. Well, what if I don't take that job? What if there's never another job? Well, that's a believed thought, that there's only this, and if you don't do this, you can't be okay, right? And we all do that, don't we? Fear, impatience entering in, demand entering in. Can I see and recognize? Release from the storyline, drop back into the body experience. This is the practice. It is unconditionally, radically loving, isn't it? Unconditionally, radically loving. To say tight like this, tense like this, hot like this, not wanting, just like this, as the beginning. That beautiful, unconditional friendliness with experience completely as it is. This is our practice this week. May we be free with that practice. May we be home to our true nature. May we watch the wanting, not wanting, craving, not craving. And may we come back to rest in this body just like this. In this breath just like this. And as Renee said, still as a log, in simple abiding. This is the path to true happiness and freedom. See if it isn't so. May our practice today contribute to the end of suffering and the realization of true happiness and freedom. May it be so this very breath. Radical. See if you can't continue to notice the I aming, you areing. See if you can't come back just to the body and breath experience. Ground in, take 5 to 8 breaths. We know 10 breaths later, your brain chemistry is changing, and then we open and begin again. Recognize, release, return. See how long we can stay out there. Notice the hook, grip. What do we do? Recognize, release, return. Coming back and back again and again. See if you don't notice the continual opportunity for freedom. Just in this. Greg and Lisa are going to be here the next 2 Tuesdays, working on loving ourselves and loving others. But I want you to know that this unconditional friendliness is the beginning of all love. This is it. This is the goodness in you that can say, okay, just like this, without needing to grab, reject, cling, or push away anything first. Let's practice together. And so that when we open to love, we are including ourselves. We are including ourselves. I will look forward to seeing you on, I think it's May 14th. I will be in Kauai, and I'll try to send some little video clip on, I thought I would do a little practice, 3 or 5 minute practice every other day or so, and stick it on the website so you could see that amazing scenery.
Yeah, exactly. I love Hawaii.
Yeah, enjoy. We don't have to be anywhere else for this. Be with yourselves, stay with yourselves. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I am in Honolulu. So we're there. We're there. We stay in an Airbnb there. We're staying in a home. Part of it. It's across. No, it's not right on the beach. It's across from the bay.
Hi.
In there's a condo complex there, and then there's some little bungalow. And we're staying there. Yes. So we're hanging out there.
That's one of my favorite places.
It is. I'm so excited.
Share it.
Yes.
But then I've also stayed at
We've been at Holiday
Love
Bears.
you, Diana.
Anything
Class like
that.
Yes.
We actually wanted a little quiet, and it's actually a thing behind a house. It's not, it's not actually,
Well, I always
it's not the
admired you
house.
like that.
I do.
From afar.
It's a nice
We have
called
not.
Shelby.
We have